The opinions expressed in this podcast are those of the speakers and not of DoD or any of its components.
Take me to the countryside. Gotta get out of these city lights. Drinking my cup, got me feeling right. Gotta get out of these city lights.
Hey, what's up, everybody? So, welcome to your weekly 1R, W1R number 4. So, I got to get this out of the way. This is Deferred Maintenance. So, I skipped last week. Operational commitment, I think that's probably what we would put in the 3M system. But in any case, I missed my W1R last week. It's because I wanted to get that Women's History Month with Diana Rogers out there. So this is deferred maintenance, but still we're going to do our maintenance. So W1R number 4 coming up. So what I'm doing right now is I'm making YouTube shorts and also putting it on the podcast Instagram page. Just quick one-hitters that kind of talk about what we're going to talk about, right? So that's kind of like the intro. So I'll do one of those for the W1R. That way I don't have to bore you with the intro. And once you hit play, you can just kind of get into it. So a couple housekeeping things. First of all, representing Kinnick Red Devils volleyball. This is a shirt that my daughters gave to me. So go Red Devils. Just got back from volleyball practice for intramurals, actually. So, I'm not as good as my kids, but, it's fun anyway. So, all right. So we're going to talk about a few things in this W1R. Let me go ahead and outline them for you. So the first one is we're going to talk about, what are you reading, right? Because I think that if you're not reading anything, then as an adult, that's probably a problem, right? You should probably be reading some stuff. It doesn't all have to be like leadership or like growth or professional development. It is good to read something that entertains you. Audiobooks are great, but I think that it's important to exercise that, that gray matter to actually read something, whether it's on your phone. I think preferably is, in a book, turning the pages. But anyways, we're going to talk about what are you reading. The second thing is we're going to talk about whether you know it or not, you're influencing people, right? And, I think that you shouldn't worry about the way that you're perceived necessarily as much as you should just understand that you are certainly influencing people every day, right? A 5-minute interaction that you have with somebody could have a lasting effect, and so you should just be conscious of that. So we'll talk a little bit about that. And then the last thing we'll talk about is an experience that I had last week where I had the opportunity to do a familiarization flight in a F-16 Delta Viper. Yeah, you heard me right. I got to fly back seat for about an hour and 10 minutes on a FAM flight with the 35th Fighter Wing here in Misawa. It's beyond words, but I'm going to try to describe it for you and kind of tell you the story. Lifelong dream of mine, and it was fulfilled thanks to what I'll call shipmates, even though they're they're Air Force dudes. So, anyways, all right. Before we get started, again, representing Kinnick Red Devils. Also, if you like the swag, man, I'm not making any money off of it. I say this every time that I get on, but City Lokes brand, citylokes.com, City Lokes brand on Instagram. If you like the hats, they've also got, shades, custom t-shirts. Man, they're pretty awesome little company that makes some really high quality stuff. And if you look behind me, like I got some new swag this week, man. I got everything. I got the American flag, Japanese flag, Louisiana, Texas. I got one for the Texas connection. So check them out, City Lokes brand. And then of course, Trees Kid, man, brings in the podcast every time. I think that's really sets the tone for everything that we're going to talk about. So I appreciate him allowing me to use that music for my podcast. Okay. All right. So first topic, what are you reading? I'll start with what am I reading? The first thing I'm reading is a book called The Second Life of Tiger Woods. Okay. And, it's about kind of Tiger in his post, you know, accident prone, or, you know, he got in a couple of car accidents, had some substance abuse issues, and came back to win the Masters, right? You know, 15 majors, you know, arguably the greatest golfer of all time. And so that may sound, I'm not into golf, but, you know, it's about more than golf. It's about kind of his mindset for winning, and kind of what it takes to be a champion. And then a lot of the background information, you know, kind of insight for somebody that follows, you know, the PGA Tour. And so what am I getting from it? I mean, some insight into Tiger Woods, which I think we all admire and respect. He kind of changed the game of golf and really culturally changed our impression of who was allowed to play golf, right? And so that's the one thing I'm reading, and I'm almost done with it. I recommend it. You know, when I was on the ship, you know, good friend of mine, Aaron Paul, he gave me The Quarterback Whisperer. It's the story of Bruce Arians, right? Another great book. So you're thinking, okay, so all you read is sports books, right, Dean? No, that's not the thing, right? Also, audiobooks, Fortitude, you know, by Dan Crenshaw, and Leadership Strategies and Tactics by Jocko Willink. You know, I think that as long as you're reading something that is thought-provoking and, again, like I said, gets that gray matter going, and I think it's probably important to read something that's applicable to your life, right? So you can take some lessons. And, you know, sometimes maybe you want to take some notes, right? You know, I was listening on audiobooks to leadership strategies and tactics. And, you know, Jocko talked about, you know, what do you do when you're a leader in a new position, right? And he outlines like 12 points. And, man, like those are hard hitters. And so, like, you know, I was listening to it on the airplane, and I wrote those things down. And, you know, honestly, I'm going to have a poster made to put in my office, because I think that, you know, they're very core principles, and I won't outline them here, but there's something that you should probably look at every day and, like, remind yourself, like, okay, like, it's important to do these things as a leader. And so I think that what you're reading at any given moment should be applicable to where you're at in your life as a leader, as a father, a husband, a human being. So if you're not reading anything and you're actually listening to this, watching this podcast, hey, you might want to reevaluate, because I think that responsible, motivated human beings, you know, should be taking in knowledge all the time. And the main way we do that is by reading. So, other than that, what, you know, other things that I'm reading, you know, I like spy novels. I love Tom Clancy, Brad Thor, and so I read a lot of that stuff, right? But it's like for entertainment, you know, and maybe you're not an entertainment reading kind of guy, gal, but if you're not, try it, right? I think it flexes your muscles, right? It flexes your brain muscles that allows you to, like, create these scenarios in your head, these, you know, these landscapes and ideas of where these people are doing the things that they're doing. I've been a lifelong reader. It allows me to kind of like enter a world, you know, of my own kind of imagination. So yeah, I read stuff for fun too. And one that I've read at least a dozen times, and I'm going to start again probably tonight, is 1984 by George Orwell. If you have not read that, put it at the top of the list. I think I talked about, you know, a few episodes ago about kind of like this whole idea of symbolism. And if you read 1984, then there's a lot of that symbolism that happens that kind of speaks to our experience in modern society and culture. So, anyway, so what are you reading? If not anything, you need to check yourself, quite frankly, right? You need to read something. It's part of, I think, the human experience is to, translate those words from a piece of paper or your phone and like make them applicable in your brain. So if you're not reading anything, reevaluate. You need to be reading something. Okay, so that's the first topic. What are you reading? The second one is, whether you know it or not, you are influencing people all the time. And some people would hear that and think that, oh, well, you have to be in this kind of like leadership position or this position of authority or, high profile type position to think that you're influencing people. But that is not the case. Now, do you have the ability to influence more broadly if you're kind of in a leadership position? Absolutely you do. But if you're the newest person at the job, at your organization, at your command, in your division, you are also influencing people. And so you need to be cognizant of that. Don't let it change the way that you behave or the way that you lead or the way that you interact with people. But I think it's important to kind of cage it and maybe circle back, right? And kind of think about the way that you're having those, interactions with people. I'm not telling you to take notes on every interaction you have with somebody, because that's totally not what I'm saying. But I think it's important just to be aware of it. And I'll give you an example. So Isaiah Beltran, he's a first sergeant here in the 35th Fighter Wing. Good dude, man. Just motivated, sharp, squared away. His people love him. Master Sergeant in the Air Force, went through chief initiation and, had a hard time with it, quite frankly. And, but we got him through, and, a couple of weeks ago, he had gotten back from first sergeant school, back in the States. And, some of his dreams were coming to fruition. He always wanted to be a first sergeant and, initiated, as a chief petty officer. And, he just kind of randomly showed up in my office, and it's all good, of course, right? I was like, dude, what's up, man? And, we talked for a minute, and he gave me a card, and it was an envelope, so I didn't want to open and read it in front of him, right? But essentially it was like a thank you card. And, he outlined some of the interactions that we had during initiation and since. And, it made me realize that, of course I knew that I and we were having an impact on him and making him a better leader and, helping him understand more about himself, especially through the initiation process. But I think I probably didn't understand the extent to which it had a real impact on him. And when he gave me that letter, that thank you note, it really kind of hit home. It's like, man, every person that you come in contact with, and this isn't just me, this isn't just Dean Howell, right? Like, this is for you that's listening to. Every person that you come in contact with, you have some influence over. And so if you realize that, if you kind of go into every situation understanding that, then the hope is that you will have a good influence on those people, whether it's the people that work for you or whether it's, somebody that you meet once or, somebody that, that you're lifelong friends with, I'll talk about kind of some upcoming episodes soon, at the end, but I'll give you a preview. So on the next Text and Connection, Matt and I are going to talk about, meaningful relationships amongst men, right? Which can be hard, right? Men are like always in competition for some reason. I think it's the way we are conditioned. We talked to Amanda Paul today, and she kind of gave us some insights about this topic that hopefully we can share with you guys. But in any case, just understand that when you have interactions with people, that you're having an impact on them, and you just want it to be positive, right? Not because it's going to do anything for you necessarily, more so because the more positive impacts you can have over, a long period of time, the more good you're doing in the world, essentially, right? I could talk about this forever. I mean, Bryce Arnett, another one of my long time friends. We were kids together in high school. Wasn't always the best influence with him, but I think that I made a positive enough impact because I loved him, man. I still do, right? And I had faith and confidence in him, and to see some of the things that he's doing these days is it makes me real happy. And I don't know, it kind of goes back to the same thing that I've talked about a few times, right? Like, what's your legacy? And I guess your legacy could be money or fame or going down the history books. But for most of us, right, like that 99%, like your legacy is the people that you impact throughout your life. It's okay to think about that. It's okay to think about it like now. You don't have to wait till you're old to think about it. It's okay to think about it now and do your best to be a positive influence on everybody that you come in contact with. So anyways, okay. So that's the second topic. All right, man. Third topic. Here we go. So I have dreamed about flying in a jet aircraft my entire life that I can remember, right? I remember being a kid, and I think, I talked about this on a previous episode where it was like, hey, you ask 10-year-old Dean, what do you want to do? Man, you want to go to the fucking moon, right? I legitimately wanted to be an astronaut. Of course, I'm an 80s, like, Top Gun kid, Maverick, the whole thing, right? But it's not something that you have an opportunity to do, right? Here I am, 42 years old, and I finally had the opportunity to fly in the backseat of an F-16. Mind blown, right? I'll give out, a quick shout out. My boy Joey hooked it up. It's not, anything, particularly special. It's something that happens. The F-16D is kind of a trainer, and so it's used probably predominantly to do training for new pilots, but also to provide kind of familiarization and incentive flights for folks in the Air Force that are in those F-16 wings. Okay, so I'm going to tell you about it. So, first of all, I got all, fit up and everything, got fitted for my G suit, right? So your G suit is like this, they look like chaps almost, right? But you put them on, and the idea is that they'll push the blood out of your legs back up to your respiratory system into your brain, so that when you're pulling G's, you don't black out, right? So I got fit up for that. Had to wear like a cold weather suit underneath because up here it's freaking cold. We're supposed to get like a foot of snow on Saturday. so I had to wear that underneath my flight suit, get fit for, your vest and your helmet and everything, right? So that was a whole thing. Went through like the physiology, of course, a lot of safety briefs about like, if this happens, X, Y, and Z, about ejection and how to maneuver the canopy of the parachute in case we have to like eject, and which was a little nerve wracking, honestly, but in hindsight, it was all part of the safety brief, which is very important. But fast forward, the time comes and I'm flying with the vice commander of the 35th Fighter Wing. Awesome dude. I won't say his name here because he may not want me to, but anyways, awesome freaking dude, right? I've known him the whole time I've been up here, just a complete gentleman in every sense of the word, right? And so the time comes, we meet, and he kind of walks me through what the flight is going to be and kind of what the purpose of the kind of the training flight is going to be. Get all suited up, and we get out to the jet, and I'm gonna be honest with you, I was pretty nervous. Like, I was real nervous, and I don't know why, honestly. I was pretty sure that I wouldn't get motion sickness. Like, I've been on ships for a long time, and so I wasn't worried about like, barfing or whatever, right? But for some reason, man, I had this like, kind of like when we talked about this, this irrational fear of the dentist. I had this irrational fear of like passing out. Like, I didn't want to pass out, and I've seen enough like videos on YouTube. I was like, man, I don't want to be that guy. It's like, nodding off in the back or like stroking out or whatever. So I was a little concerned about that. You get all strapped in and everything, and so that part was a little nerve wracking. And then, but at this point, I'm like, man, I'm committed. I am all in. Let's do this, right? And I'll tell you, the vice commander couldn't have been any more kind of like understanding. He was very kind of like talking me through everything. All right, so let's get down to the nuts and bolts, right? So it comes time to take off, and he told me, he said, hey, we're gonna, he calls me Dean. Hey, Dean, we're gonna do a unrestricted ascent. I may have that terminology wrong, right? And he had to get permission from the tower essentially to do that. And this unrestricted ascent means that, so, we take off, right? Which was its own thing, right? I mean, I've been launched off a catapult in like an old, COD, right? Like C2, but it's something different when, you're basically strapped to a rocket, right, with wings, which is what an F-16 is. So anyways, we take off, and we're about 200 feet over the deck, and, we're mic'd up, right? We have our mask on. And he says, all right, Dean, you ready? I'm trying to be a tough guy, right? And I'm like, yes, sir, let's do this. And essentially, this unrestricted ascent means that he goes from 200 feet, and he goes vertical, right? Like completely vertical. And we went from about 200 or 300 feet to about 15,000 feet in about 4 seconds. Like, I've never felt anything like it in my life. I'm doing like the breathing technique they told me about. I'm like pushing, on my leg muscles. I'm like, I don't know what it's called. They told me how to do it. I did it. And so like, I mean, like straight rocket, like strapped to a rocket, man. And it made me think like, holy cow, these guys that like, ride no kidding rockets into space, like they're pulling these G's, for a hot minute, and it just is amazing, right? Because we're talking 3-4 seconds, right? But still, I mean, think about that, right? Like 200-300 feet to about a little less than 15,000 feet, no kidding, in like 4 seconds, right? And we get out and we roll out of it. I may have said some choice words, which I apologize later because you don't like to do that. But I couldn't help myself. I was like, holy fucking shit, right? So anyways, and then, we start doing whatever the kind of training mission. And, we do some kind of like G runs just to test everything out. And, after that was all good, man. I was enjoying myself. But that first one, like, that unrestricted ascent, like it was like, I told myself when we came out of it, I was like, okay. Like, stop in my mind. Right. I talked to myself, if you haven't noticed, right? Like, okay, Dean, this is going to be like a physical endeavor, like playing a football game or something. Like, I told myself, like, you need to like mentally prepare yourself. Like, this isn't just like a joyride. Like, this is going to be physically demanding. Right. So once I fixed my brain that way, it was like, all right, then I was in the zone. And, so anyways, we're doing everything, and, he lets me take the controls a little bit, which was crazy, right? Like, am I flying it? No. He's got the pedals. He's got the throttle. I've just got the stick, right? But, I get to maneuver the jet a little bit, right? Climb from 15 to 30,000 feet, and maybe did a couple aileron rolls, and, dive down, and just an absolute dream come true. I don't know any other way to put it, right? Like, I still think about it. And I'll tell you, like, the amount of respect that I have for those fighter pilots now. I mean, I always thought they were cool. I mean, I think we all do, right? They're like, oh man, look at those guys. But then you're like, oh, whatever. No, like, real talk. There's a reason why those guys, a lot of them have kind of that, that like uber confidence. I'll tell you why, because they're doing it. Like, they're doing it, like the thing. Like, that may be the baddest thing in the world, and that's what they do for a living. And mad respect, man. I'm still gonna like put them in check and tell them to put their uniform on the right way, but mad respect for those young and some older men that are still doing the hard job, flying those jet aircraft, whether it's F-16s or F-18s or F-35s or like those guys are getting it in, right? Those guys and gals. And I don't know, newfound respect, honestly. But man, it was just absolutely amazing. So anyways, all right, man. So that's pretty much it, right? We did our maintenance this week. I'm going to talk about a couple of some upcoming things that are going on, and maybe a couple that we just did. So if you haven't checked it out, right, I told you it was about to get hot and heavy, right? So Frank Rice, so Joey, Frank, John Stone, Diana Rogers, the first, Millie Monthly is out, right? Text and Connection coming out next Wednesday. Matt and I are gonna film it this weekend. I'm interviewing Chris Norris this weekend. After that, it's gonna be Audrey Meininger. I mean, I told you it's gonna be hot and heavy, just like bang, 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 2-3 episodes every week. I am blessed to know a lot of cool fucking people, and I love talking to them, and I hope that you're enjoying this stuff too, right? So please, check out those episodes that are out already. Look forward to the ones that are coming out. The only thing I ask is, just subscribe, like, follow on whatever platform that you're using it, right? What that does is, again, it connects you to things that might be interesting to you apart from the Rising Sun podcast. But also it helps me be able to grow this thing, and hopefully in the future, get more guests on. So, so I'm loving it. I'm having a great time. I hope you're enjoying the content. And I'm not going to stop. You've got my commitment. I'm going to keep going. And because if this is impacting one person out there, that helps them think, what am I reading? Or what impact am I having on people, right? Or helps you appreciate our women in service more, or helps you find the good in every day, right? Or helps you explore whatever your passion is that's not in the military, right? If one person out there is listening to, watching this and says, you know what? I like that, and I'm going to do something about it. Hey, man, mission accomplished, right? So you have my commitment that I'll keep going. Oh, by the way, I love this shit. Okay? So, all right, that's it. Like I said, I deferred my maintenance for this week, but we're all caught up again. Next thing you can look forward to is Monday, Chris Norris, Wednesday, Texan Connection, and then W1R next Friday. So that's it for tonight. Hey, y'all have a great weekend, and make sure that, tell somebody about it, right? That's the price, right? Never going to charge anything for this. The price of this podcast, of these videos is share it, tell somebody about it if you like it, okay? All right, y'all have a good night, and I'm out.